Not just the CEO, but anybody who's a captain of a team has to be the best player. Non-playing captains don't work. So to that extent, a CEO has to be the best sales guy, the best collection guy, the best HR guy, and so on and so forth. And so is the case with each of the levels below that. So I believe that the area sales manager has to be the best sales guy in his team. A regional sales manager has to be the best sales guy in his team. Unless you are the best person, you are not fit to be there.
We have a deep sense of purpose for why we exist. Our purpose is to transform the life of the common man by improving their financial well-being. We're very clear on who we want to cater to and how. All our products are designed with this understanding in mind. And we believe that whatever we do, if it is good for the customer, it's good for the nation, and then it will be good for us as an organization.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of HR Off the Record, a podcast series brought to you by PeopleStrong. I'm your host, Amit Thapliyal. We're creating this show to showcase the people behind the HR professional and leadership while giving you a sneak peek behind the glass-walled HR offices and into the minds of some of the most brilliant HR and business professionals, one conversation at a time. Today, we have a guest from a company that has been a household name in India for decades. Especially if you've traveled through South India and seen those unmistakable Muthoot blue billboards. Founded in 1887, the Muthoot Papachan Group, MPG, also known as Muthoot Blue, has grown from a small trading business in Kerala to a diversified financial powerhouse. But at its core, Muthoot Blue has always been about empowering people, fostering financial inclusion, and enabling dreams, which is why their tagline, Blue is Belief, perfectly captures their legacy of trust and reliability. A key part of this legacy is Muthoot Capital Services, established in 1994 as a leading NBFC listed on the BSE and NSE. Muthoot Capital plays a vital role in vehicle finance, making two-wheeler and used car loans accessible to millions. But that's not all. They also offer secured business loans, corporate loans, working capital loans, and fixed deposits, helping both individuals and businesses achieve their financial goals. And today we have the privilege of hearing from the leaders driving the vision forward. Mathews and Tina, thanks for joining us today. We've had CHROs and people leaders from tough organizations on the podcast, but today is special. We have two business leaders who not only drive strategy and growth, but also deeply understand the people agenda, what it takes to build, engage, and lead teams in a rapidly growing industry. So this is going to be a fascinating conversation. Let's dive in. At the helm of India's most trusted NBFCs is a man focused on leveraging technology, expanding financial inclusion, and making vehicle ownership more accessible to millions across India. With over 26 years of experience in the banking and financial services industry, Mathews Markose has built a stellar career across top financial institutions, including HSBC, ICICI Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, and ESAF Small Finance Bank. Mathews, welcome to the podcast HR Off the Record. And alongside him, we have another dynamic leader shaping the future of Muthoot Papachan Group, MPG, as we fondly call them, Tina Muthoot. Steering the legacy of the Muthoot Papachan Group into the future, Tina is the executive director of Muthoot Papachan Group and a fourth generation leader of MPG. With deep-rooted expertise in finance, strategy, and business leadership, she continues to play a pivotal role in shaping the company's growth and culture. So, Mathews and Tina, tell us something about yourself. What influenced your career and leadership philosophy?
I think I will take this question before I hand it over to Mathews. So when we talk like on my career part, okay, I think I've always known that I've wanted to be a part of the family business, that I will work for the family business right from my early years. I think a large part of that desire was instilled from my childhood days. I think we spent a lot of time being exposed to what the business does very informally. So we'd be taken to our workplace it was a senior generation who was taking us to the workplace, just helping us have an idea of what Muthoot does, what kind of products we deal with, who our customers are, what are the values behind the products that we have, and how we serve our customers. So I think eventually, at the back of my mind, it was always there that at some point in time, I'll be a part of the family business. I wasn't sure when as I was growing up. But since you specifically mentioned career, I just want to say one thing. I just thought about it when I was reading something. So you see there are different terms. Like there's a job, there's a career, and then there's another word, which I will come to. Like a job is just something that you have because you want to earn. A career is a place where you want to grow, where you're seeking growth, seeking promotions, seeking something more. But I think over the last few years, I've discovered the next step, which I will call a calling. So this is something more than a job or a career. It ties to the purpose that you want to achieve and why you do what you do. So I'd say a large part of that calling was started at a very young age, and I think that also reminds me why I am in Muthoot and what as a family we do in Muthoot. On the part of leadership, I wouldn't want to define my method of leadership in a particular way. I think I'm still discovering it. Maybe in the early years of my career, I would have defined myself as more analytical, more on looking at numbers, more of the finance person that was my academic background. But I think over the last few years, when I have stepped out of my comfort zone, handled areas that wasn't familiar to me, I think I've grown in that leadership. So I feel leadership is just about taking responsibility, stepping up to take those tough calls, especially when the path is uncertain. So that's what I've discovered about leadership. But ultimately, the leader that I want to be, I'm nowhere close yet, but I aspire to be. And I've seen this in other leaders in Muthoot and in the senior generation, is on being that servant leader. So that is my North Star when it comes to leadership. But I feel like there's a long way to go.
So, yeah, thanks for having me here, Amit. I was brought up by very devout parents, and my father was a scientist with the Baba Atomic Research Center, and he was posted somewhere close to Jamshedpur. So much of my schooling and my studies happened in the north. I've traveled across the country, as they call ghat ghat ka pani pina. So all that I've done. So I did my schooling in Jamshedpur, then joined JK as a management trainee in Rajasthan, moved on to Delhi, was there for about 7-8 years in Delhi, then got transferred to Coimbatore, then had a second stint in Delhi, moved to Kolkata, then Bangalore, Hyderabad, and finally Cochin. So that's my journey so far in my career. And about 12 years back, when my father retired, and I was the only son, so I decided to settle back in Kerala. Otherwise, during this 12 years, I've again got opportunities to move out, but I thought I will stay put here. So that's briefly about me. And all these years, I've worked across institutions, as you already mentioned, HSBC, ICICI, Kotak Mahindra Bank, ISA Small Finance Bank, and now at Muthoot. The leadership philosophy that I follow is a book that has influenced me the maximum, which is the Bible. So I always look up to the Bible for any management lesson. So if you keep religion out of it, I think is one of the most is one of the best books on management. You can't teach the management lessons from the Bible in any business school, and any context of your life you want to have an inspiration from, you will get it in the Bible. And I think that's what has inspired me, and I try to maintain that philosophy. Tina briefly mentioned about servant leadership. That's a trend that is increasing across. If you search for it in the net, you will find a lot of reference on servant leadership. That's an upcoming philosophy on leadership. Usually, leadership is associated with a lot of fanfare. People eulogize leaders and all that. But servant leadership is to serve and not to be served. That's the concept. So you lead from the front and you serve your people, and you don't essentially long to get served. And I think that's a wonderful leadership philosophy. There is no downside to that. Every other leadership style, you will have a positive and a negative, but I think on servant leadership, there's no downside. You only have a positive on that. And over a period of time, I think more and more leaders will eventually follow this. That's my belief. So that's about me, briefly. Yeah.
Beyond the boardroom, what keeps you both energized? What are your interests beyond the professional pursuits? I believe very often we don't see the personal side of, the CEOs and the CXOs, and we forget that they're human too. So show us your human side.
So, Amit, if you had asked me this question a few years ago, I would have said all the interests that I've had in singing, all kinds of arts. Okay, I love singing, I love dance, I love artwork. So there was one thing that I discovered during COVID. I had just shifted homes and I wanted some decor up. And somehow I had like old discarded pans and some items lying around, pans, spoons, everything. And I was looking for good decor that would add a vintage touch to my home. So I learned how to do decoupage. I think since then I developed this. I never thought I'd get back to that kind of art. So I had that side of me, but these days I don't spend that much time in messy art because I have a 3-year-old son. So only one of us is allowed to be messy at home. So most of my time outside of work is spending time with my sons. But I think it also helps me rediscover the other side of childhood. There's a lot of unlearning and relearning to do. There's a lot of discovering different habits. I think I've been so focused on getting things right the first time, but with my son, I have to give that time for him to discover his way of doing things, being patient, just enjoying the journey and the ride. So that's mostly my side of work. My side, like what I do outside of work hours. Where I get time for myself is when I travel on my own for work. So that's actually my solo trip. And I enjoy that quiet time when I'm sitting on a flight or something. That's when I get to read a book in peace. So, yeah.
My next question, Mathews, is for you. And, I've always wondered, though I've worked very closely with CEOs all my life, right from the beginning of my career. But I always used to wonder, what's the typical day for a CEO, the way we see it versus the way you live it. So what's a typical day for you like? What are the habits that you've given up? What are the habits you've nurtured? What makes you productive? And how you still keep your learning hat on?
Okay. So I'm a very ordinary man, have a very ordinary lifestyle, but I'm a early riser. So I wake up at around 5 in the morning and I go for a brisk walk, about 45 minutes. And then I come back and have my cup of coffee and then go through the newspaper from the front page to the back. Entire paper I go through. And then I get dressed up and drop my son to school. So whenever there's when the schools are on, I drop my son to school. And by which time I reach office by about 8:15. Because school is only 15 minutes from my office. So I reach office pretty early. So that gives me a lot of time to, cover up all the pending work. And by the time people are there in office, I have covered up all my pending work. And so that I'm fresh to go. And for almost 15 years now, I have this habit of having a morning half-an-hour call with my team. So now I do it with my business heads. It's not about driving numbers or anything, but I get a pulse of what is happening. So, people come up with their problems, excuses, all that. So it gives me a pulse. And I most importantly, I get to know how much to discount from each person. So there are some people who you say you can believe 100%, some people you believe 75%, some people you do 50% on all that. So it gives me a pulse, and I am always in touch with the ground that way. And the questions that I discuss with them or ask them are the ones which I would like them to ask down the line, so that till the last mile that concept of philosophy is driven. So that helps me being in control. It's not that the numbers are not available, answers are all there, all the numbers are available, but this connect helps me, stay in touch with what is happening in reality. And I usually don't, when I leave office in the evening, I will not have any mail pending in my mailbox unless it's a task that I have not completed. So any task which I have not completed will be an unread mail in my mailbox. And that's how I follow up. So there are times when somebody would have asked me something and maybe they would have forgotten, but I wouldn't forget because that's an unread mail in my mailbox. And whenever that is done, because everything you may not have the answers to, you may have to go back to check with different people, maybe outside the system and all that. And when the answer is there, I reply to that and I close that. That's my, way of. So I don't have a secretary. I don't keep a calendar. I have never written a diary. I never mark up anything in a diary. Everything is in the mailbox, and that mailbox is sacrosanct for me. Any pending work is an unread mail in the mailbox. In fact, the very interesting thing that I learned from my mother. So my mom, again, a very simple lady, she used to, every day after work and all, when one would be tired, and of course mothers would have been toiling the whole day, and she would still go out and clean all the utensils, leave nothing in the kitchen sink. Okay, so the days when she is very tired and all, I would go and say, why do you do this? Why can't you leave it do it tomorrow morning? What's going to happen? The world is not going to come to an end. And one day she told me, maybe she, obviously it was not no philosophy or anything, just made a casual remark. She said, I do it because suppose I go to sleep and I don't wake up, I die in the night. Tomorrow morning, people will come to see me and they will think what kind of a lady she was. She never used to leave the kitchen clean. So therefore, I do it. So I think that is something which stuck with me very, very strongly. And I also don't leave anything pending. My feeling is that if I have left pending, something happens to me today night, I take a flight. Suppose I don't land. I don't want to keep anything pending because of this person called Mathews Markose. That's been the driving force for me, and I think it's worked for me, whether it's good or not. If somebody has to remind me, and for any work that they have assigned to me, and they have to remind me, I take it as a personal insult. So I ensure that I do it before I get a reminder. So that's been the very simple philosophy of my life, which has got me success so far.
At PeopleStrong, we believe in legacy and in legacies, and while we have a legacy of our own, in which how we shaped up as an organization, we've had the privilege of working with some of the biggest conglomerates, and obviously with these conglomerates come with a historical background, with a cultural background, and over the years how they evolved. And in particular, MPG has had a legacy, is a part of a 137-year-old legacy. Tina, you've grown from strength to strength, and we're glad we have been able to be a part of that journey as well. As a part of that family, could you tell us a bit more about your organization and what is the MPG legacy, and what's the MPG way of doing things?
Yeah, thank you, Amit. I think initially you had touched upon the fact that I'm part of the fourth generation of the Muthoot Capital Group. As a family, we've had very humble beginnings in this business. It was originally founded by my great-grandfather. The business started out as just a trading business. We were supplying provisions to estate workers, and eventually they started entrusting their savings with my great-grandfather, then started borrowing against that, and moved on to some form of secured lending. The most predominant asset would have been gold. We started out in Koranjeri, that it's a small town in Kerala, and then slowly expanded to multiple parts within the state. And over the last many years, left in the early 2000s, late 90s, we left Kerala and moved out to South India, and now have a presence pan India. As an organization, MPG, Muthoot Capital Group, has a book size of about 50,000 CR. But more than the products that we identify ourselves with, it's the segment of customers that we cater to. So simply put, our customers might be those who don't have access to normal banking products, but we will give time for them. We're present in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, Tier 3 markets. Our products are catered to their particular needs, whether it's gold loan, mortgage finance, vehicle finance, two-wheeler, used car, commercial vehicle, housing loan, certain savings, investment products that are understandable and affordable by this segment of customers. So if you look at what we do, we might, our presence is more towards the low income, middle income segment of the economic pyramid. It's not really an economic pyramid anymore, but you get the idea of where our presence is. What Muthoot Capital does as a company, we are the oldest NBFC within our group. It's more than 30 years old. And our main product here is vehicle finance. So the wish, the desire for Muthoot Capital is, if it has wheels, we will do it. So two-wheeler loans, used car, CV, these are the products, UCV, these are the products that we have in our portfolio. But as we stabilize these existing products, we will get into similar allied products on wheels. The other NBFCs within the group, they handle other products, the ones that I had mentioned earlier. All our companies are professionally managed. They have their own CXOs, their independent boards. So that's a little bit about Muthoot. But touching upon what the Muthoot way is, I think a lot of our values have shaped how we function and continue to function as an organization. We have a deep sense of purpose for why we exist. Our purpose is to transform the life of the common man by improving their financial well-being. So we're very clear on who we want to cater to and how. All our products are designed with this understanding in mind. And we believe that whatever we do, if it is good for the customer, it's good for the nation, and then it will be good for us as an organization. I think just there's a lot when it comes to how we put this in practice, but I think one main part that I want to talk about here is when I touched upon the values, I just want to mention my grandfather. He was extremely, like Mathews said, my grandfather was extremely strong in his faith. I think he had faced a lot of ups and downs during his life, and that has shaped how the people worked with him, how the future generations are continuing to work. One practice that we have in our organization is that whenever we start something, whether it's our day or a particular meeting, we always start with a moment of silent prayer. It's only because we know that things are not in our hands. You just have to seek that kind of the kind of guidance to make the right decisions. And these are critical decisions that we're getting into at any point in time, whether it's a meeting or just at the start of the day. So every one of our offices, our 3,600 branches across the country, our back offices everywhere, at the start of the day, they spend some time in prayer. In our branches, we call it Shubharamb, which means it's a good start, a blessed start to the day. So 15 minutes goes into this Shubharamb, A part of it is prepare, and the rest of it is to plan the day together on those critical activities that we have to make. So there is a lot that goes into the Muthoot way, but I think as generations, what we want to continue is our faith, because it defines a lot of the decisions that we make as a business, as stakeholders, as custodians of, and as stewards of multiple people's resources.
So, Mathews, as you mentioned, MPG has evolved culturally as a business over the years, and you've taken on the challenges that various eras presented um, as well, and you've built a thriving, diverse, and multi generational workforce. So, my question to you is, how do you keep the legacy alive while you're undergoing transformation?
So the legacy has always been an advantage for us. So in fact, legacy keeps us grounded and aligned to the purpose. So there's a purpose for the group, which is, to serve the needs of the common man. And we have always stayed true across the group, MPG group. All the companies have stayed true to that purpose. And it's the purpose that drives us rather than we trying to drive the purpose. So that's the way it is. And legacy has always been a really rich and invaluable experience, which is seldom available outside the system. So, for instance, we've seen so many cycles of good and bad times that you have always something to dig back into from your own experience rather than going out and learning from somebody else. So, I think that's a really rich set of experiences that you have. You've seen COVID, you've seen floods, you've seen all that could have been possible under the sun, and you've seen all the good times as well. So, whichever situation you are faced with, you always have an experience to go back to and learn from, rather than looking outside for help. I think that's been a hallmark of the group as such.
So, we've talked about business, we've talked about legacies, we've talked about how CEOs think inside their cabins. But let's dive into the people part of the podcast now. CEOs today are expected to balance business and growth, and management of the future. Mathews, do you think that the CEO is also the chief people officer or chief happiness officer? How do you personally view this role, and what's your vision for people at Muthoot Papachan Group?
Okay. My concept has been, not just the CEO, but anybody who's a captain of a team has to be the best player. Non-playing captains don't work. So to that extent, a CEO has to be the best sales guy, the best collection guy, the best HR guy, and so on and so forth. And so is the case with each of the levels below that. So I believe that the area sales manager has to be the best sales guy in his team. A regional sales manager has to be the best sales guy in his team. A regional collection manager has to be the best collection person in the team. And and the regional operations manager, so on and so forth. So unless you are the best person, you are not fit to be there. And so naturally, as a CEO, anybody who's a CEO has to be donning various hats, whether it is in sales or collections or across the organization. You may not know the entire intricacies, but anybody who walks into your cabin, irrespective of the department, you should be able to add value to the teammate. If a supervisor is not able to add value to the life of his teammate, then he or she will not be able to command respect from the team. That's the basic thing. So it's not that whether as a CEO you understand finance totally or not, but are you able to give directions to the people? That's important. And also, very important factor is that people join us from different backgrounds. So their outlook on what is right and wrong is completely shaped by their family background, their surroundings, etc., etc. So if I were to give some example, say what is acceptable behavior in say north of India may not be acceptable behavior in the south of India, or across various states. That's how culturally diverse we are. So certain behavioral sets that people come out with, for that person it may be natural in his surroundings, but that may not be acceptable for us as an organization. But it is not really the fault of that person who's doing that. So it is our responsibility to bring everyone up to the Muthoot way of doing things, train them, coach them. Often we see when people make mistakes, we take an action, resulting in say termination, issuing memos, etc., etc. But if you go back and deep dive, uh, have we coached them enough? Did he do it out of intent, or that was the way he worked in his previous organization? So that is where our responsibility in coaching people comes in. So anything that you do can be, put it into three buckets, which is black, white, and gray. Okay, white is something which is clearly right and should be done. Black is something which is clearly wrong and it should not be done. These two are more or less, standard across regions, country, uh, people, etc. They know very clearly what should be done, what should not be done. But a lot of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis falls in the area called gray. And that is where you need the supervisor's input to, you know, differentiate between what is white out of the gray and what is black out of the gray, and forbid people from not doing. But if you're not investing in people and not giving enough training and just taking action, I think that can be detrimental over a period of time in terms of achieving your objectives, attracting talent, because people will get the message saying that the policies followed are not right. So I think my vision for MCSL is to create a knowledgeable team. Everybody, right from the CSC, even he should understand how the P&L works, what doesn't work, what he should do, what he shouldn't do, without in fact telling all these things to the front line, whether it is a collection executive or the sales executive or anybody who's working in the front line. He being in a different world altogether, and we trying to drive the ethos at only at the top level doesn't work. So, everybody from the front line till the CEO should be able to view things from the prism of right or wrong in terms of the Muthoot way of doing things. So I think that is very important. To that extent, not just the CEO, but everybody is a chief people officer. Uh, that's my take on that.
So over to you, Tina. How do you really retain talent in a competitive industry like yours, especially when you see higher attrition rates across the board? What is the glue that keeps people together in such circumstances?
Okay. So Amit, I mean, definitely that question of attrition is always on our mind. In fact, we've set like very ambitious targets of what we want to achieve as resolution for these high attrition rates over the next 3 years. But I think a large part of that messaging comes from the top. Personally, and this is just something the senior generation used to do. I do it as well. Everybody who joins our head office, um, for Muthoot Capital, it's in Cochin, for Muthoot FinCorp, it's in Trivandrum, whatever, multiple locations it is. The directors personally take the time to meet everyone in the head office, whether it's somebody at a JM1 level or somebody at a VP level, doesn't matter. The meeting, I mean, it could be a 10-minute meeting, it could be an hour meeting. It could be before we make the decision on the hire. Certain meetings we might take a decision, we might meet just after the hire. But the point is that we meet everybody who joins in the HO. It's to make sure that we have aligned what we stand for, and our way of doing business with everybody who joins Muthoot. Okay. Like Matthew said, I mean, they may come from a different background, they may have a different way of approaching things, but do we align to it? At least are our values matching? Do we stand for the same thing? I think uh, the family, the promoter, and the director's involvement in the daily functioning of the business, at least on the people front, makes a lot of difference in communicating our vision and communicating our purpose. And like I said, why we do what we do. And the more we engage with the leaders, the more it can get translated down the line on how Muthoot does its business, who our customers are, how we are expected to serve them, what our customers also expect from us. So, uh, me being a part of the family, I get a lot of direction speaking to the senior generation. So I know how much people who join Muthoot, they've given their feedback on the time that we spend with them, like helps change their understanding of what Muthoot stands for, what we do, and uh, who our customers are, and how we need to approach our daily activities. So that's just one part of it, the very qualitative part. But on specifically on the people front, I think the little interventions that we've made help people see value in their work. Okay, whether it's in the learning that they do. So we believe that if you learn, you're able to earn. So understand the product, understand the process. Try to get things right on the first try. It will make you more efficient. So making sure that their inductions are done promptly. Um, Let them go through their the process training, the product training, so that they're equipped to be on the field. Being a retail financial services organization, a large part of our customer base is on the field. So, and we can't just drop them in the. They'll feel like a fish out of water. So, getting that the groundwork done for our employees is very important before they start the work. Once they feel empowered, that they understand what they do, then it's a matter of getting the right kind of guidance from their supervisor and being able to actually uh, chase those targets or their numbers that they're supposed to work towards. Um, and specifically, and this may be on the field side, on the leadership side, we have certain leadership journeys that we've planned uh, uh, for different companies in different ways. So whether it's in Muthoot FinCorp or Muthoot Capital, Muthoot Microfin, each of our companies, they have certain leadership journeys that are that are planned for people in the middle management or the senior management level. And something else that we have started as a group is a Muthoot Health Triangle, because with the amount of time that people spend at work, uh, I mean, health just takes a backseat. People, they may forget about their physical health, their mental well-being, their emotional well-being. So Muthoot Health Triangle looks at all three aspects of it. So there are challenges that we prompt people to do, whether the number of steps that they take every day. So there's an internal challenge that we have among the employees. If to get them to participate in cyclothons, then we have an in-house psychologist and anybody within the group is free to access that psychologist. So, and all discussions are confidential. It goes without saying. I think the softer aspects of the people front, we're very conscious about taking care of it, not just on the hard technical training bit. So I think all of this put together helps to retain our talent. I must say that the conscious decision to even change our HRMS last year, and the other group companies had done it before that, was also to improve that employee experience. Because a lot of our employees, um, outside of work, they're accessing everything on their phone. They're a mobile first generation, right? So why should things be different at their work? I think just being able to connect with every other employee on the phone makes it a more seamless experience for all our employees. So these little interventions go a long way. It's not just one thing. I think all put together will go into retaining the right kind of talent.
So, Tina, work-life balance, career growth, flexibility, these are the expectations of the melting pot of talent which would we have today, right? We have people from the from the 90s, from the Gen Zs coming in, now the Alphas coming in. Um, what do you see is the role of uh, a CHRO or a people leader, people culture leader, people performance leader? How do you see these roles changing, and how do you think is the best way of dealing with multi-generational workforce?
Um, so Amit, we actually have people all the way from baby boomers to Gen Zs. So it's a huge cultural difference that we have to manage. But I think it's been part of our learning journey. Of course, where we have a tech division that's working out of Bangalore, so a lot of our Gen Zs are also working out of there. But um, we've been cognizant of the fact that there are certain policies that we have to change so that we can adapt to their requirements as well. I'll just give you one example. Okay, we used to work 6 days a week, but I think over time we've come to realize that people need to spend home time with their families over the weekends. Maybe that um, that work life balance is important. So eventually we made one more Saturday off, and then we figured out another way where we can give another Saturday off by changing certain work hours here and there. But I think for us, it's been a process, it's been a journey. We understand that we are a legacy organization. We have people across the country. So it's not that with a flick of a switch, we're able to change things. We must understand that a large part of our customers, they require face-to-face interaction. So a lot of our employees need to be on the field. They need to be where the customer is. And we don't regard any of our head offices or our hubs as head offices. They're actually support offices. Our thought process is like that. So the way our offices work is to support the people on the field. But to some extent, we've been able to strike that balance of being efficient at work as well as being able to give that time for family and make that attain that work-life balance. And on the career front, um, uh, like I said earlier, giving those learning journeys for right from the JM1 level, the bottom to our executive, the top management level. I think that is the main aspiration for people who are part of any workforce, because it gives you something more of a fulfillment than just reaching for numbers or chasing those numbers. So, yeah, this is how we manage the different generations, but I'd say that there is still more work to be done here.
And Matthews, what are the top three HR metrics that you hold your CHRO accountable to?
Yeah, I think the top three HR metrics would not be a constant across organizations, and even within the organization, it not be constant across the lifespan of the organization. It keeps evolving at different stages on depending on which stage of growth you are going through. I think these metrics will change, and therefore we need to keep redefining those metrics for the CHRO. I think at this stage of growth which we are in currently, I would hold these three things as most important or sacrosanct or as the holy grail for CHRO. First and foremost is learning and development, because today we are at a stage where technology is actually changing paradigms. Our staff has to be upskilled, reskilled. Maybe what was relevant 5 years back is not relevant anymore. So a huge amount of investment in learning and development, upskilling our people, making them future ready, because otherwise it's a binary. Either you have them or you have to ask them to leave, which is not a very good thing to do. So you have to invest and reskill them and upskill them. So that's, to my mind, the most important thing. Second is nurturing talent, because people who have been identified as talent, we shouldn't lose them, because it takes a lot of effort and money and time to bring people to certain level of performance. And once you have brought them and done all the investment, somebody else picking them and using them as a ready-made material would be a huge loss to the organization. So you need to constantly, nurture talent, create an environment for them where you show them growth and retain them within the organization. That's very important, and I think that's second in my bucket list. And third is keep employees engaged at all points in time. The employee should always have a freedom to come back to the supervisor or the HR for any help, any support. It should not be a work culture which tends towards toxicity. It should be a open, fair environment where anybody can, So I personally like to have a work culture where anybody can walk into my cabin at any point in time, and it happens also without any appointment. They just come, knock, and get in. So people should have access to all levels of the hierarchy, so that people have the freedom or the uh, comfort that anything happening wrong, they can always come back and escalate, and it will be addressed. That's very important message that you want to send down the line. So I think these are the three things that, to my mind, the CHR should be driving passionately.
How do you see HR technology transforming how your industry manages people? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think today every company is a tech company. So either you are investing technology to give a solution of on your product line, or you are into the business of technology helping other businesses grow. So, but to a large extent, every company is a tech company today. So the way AI is progressing in our life, it is almost impossible. You can maybe love it or hate it, but you can't ignore it. That's the situation that we are in today. So I think AI can play a huge role in improving the processes on the HR side as well. So AI-driven recruitment with automated screening of the applications or the CVs, chatbots doing the initial interviews, and predictive analytics. Then skill-based hiring with the use of AI, HR chatbots and self-service portals. All of these are gaining prominence, and I think to some extent we are also trying to embrace these changes. Our group company MFL has already, taken some initiative on these lines, and we will definitely be following suit. Uh, in addition to that, digital learning and upskilling, gamification of the learning process, AI-driven data and performance-driven management system, which can be AI-driven. A lot of this can add, value to the HR, and it becomes much more efficient and impartial, so to say, because performance management is an area which has to be dealt with care. Uh, you have to be impartial, and this data driven and AI driven solutions can help us get to that level. Fraud detections, AI can help us in fraud detection. And I think Tina already mentioned about mental health and how we are using the Muthoot Health Triangle. So these apps can help us check on the mental health and well-being of our employees. So I think in a lot of ways, AI and tech can, in fact, change the entire paradigm of how we have been traditionally looking at HR, and it's a welcome change.
So Tina, AI in hiring, talent management, and employee experience, hot topics. How do you see the impact of HR tech in your industry?
For us personally, in Muthoot Capital Services, it was at least in changing the way we approached our HRMS. So we had recently upgraded our HRMS. We started using PeopleStrong. It's a little more than a year now. I think the main motivation at that point in time was to give that kind of experience to our employees. Uh, like I said earlier, the device on your mobile phone. We have people on the field. A lot of them are not in physical offices. We work through individual dealerships. So we have staff who sit out of dealerships. So what is their one way of communicating with their peers or those in the hubs or the head office? So being able to use those work groups, being able to just send a message through through the app itself has been uh, it's helped bring our people closer in a manner. We're able to see others' birthdays, we're able to see when they join, we're able to send a congratulatory message. Just these small features on the HRMS helps to engage our employees better across the organization. And it's also helped to drive the right kind of behavior by setting those kind of guardrails. Like, for example, since we have people on the field, I mean, we have to be cognizant of the kind of punching in that they do. Are they going to be geofenced? Are they going to be geotagged? Are they going to just use a biometric device? So, when we have the right tech in place, we're also be able to drive the right kind of behavior. If you're geofenced, you're expected to punch in from that location. The supervisor knows what the behavior is supposed to drive. And if it's the right kind of behavior, you'll be able to expect the right kind of productivity as well. So it's not that you just throw the person on the field and expect them to start achieving numbers. You have to have those enablers in place so that their work becomes more efficient. I think a large part of HR tech goes towards making the employee on the field more efficient, and then the corporate office, the head office, being able to drive that kind of efficiency. At the same time, like now we're able to see certain employee data at the click of a button. We're able to download those reports. We're able to see a snapshot of who's located where, what certain statistics are like, and as leaders, that drives our decision making. We're able to make more intelligent decisions based on the data that's lying within a more intelligent HR tech. So I think that's been our experience, and I feel this is not the end of it. We need to build on top of it. We need to, based on the requirements that are evolving, we will start building on these steps that we've made. But this is one step in the right direction.
So we've covered a lot of ground, and we enter into the last segment of our podcast. Let's crystal gaze into the future and talk about the future, Tina. We're witnessing a rapid economic shift. There's technology transformations and breakthroughs brought in by technology, evolving workforce expectations. What are the what, according to you, are the three biggest shifts that you foresee in your industry in the next 5 years?
Okay. When we talk about the next 5 years, we always think like COVID was that one incident that shook everybody. Okay. The way we did business before COVID is not how we do now. And that actually reminds us of the changes that are to come in the near future. Three areas where there could be massive shifts in business. One, there's going to be more intelligence in every part of the business, whether it's in sales, whether in services, whether it in our line of business, in collections, and having that kind of early warning systems embedded into every one of our business systems. We're not going to be doing manual work for this. There will be system related triggers for every activity that we do, risk, collection, ops, the whole gambit of lending. The second is on having finance embedded into every purchase decision. Like if you look at it, personal lending can be end-to-end digital now. But with certain secure products, that's not the case as of now, but we're getting there. Like, for example, we're working on integrating our systems with the RBI's ULI, the Unified Lending Interface. With that, we will be able to get access to land ownership, land records, GST records. And considering digital and data, I think the last aspect is a more consciousness of businesses and individuals on their own data. There is a lot of learning that has to be done both by businesses and individuals on their rights and responsibilities when it comes to data. So far, maybe it's been a practice that we
like even as individuals, we share our data, but that's not the case now. A lot of the DPDP Act has come about, recent rules have been put out, and I think organizations are still learning. Individuals also need to understand their rights also when it comes to handling their data. Just as an example, like when we step out somewhere, every shop now asks us for our number, but phone numbers. But I don't think people know that they're not required to share it. They just share it. KYC is something else, but I think that consciousness needs to come in for individuals as well. So regulatorily, this will come in, and we will see that shift happening as organizations start using more and more data.
So, Matthews, what lessons have you learned throughout your career about managing people and culture? We're at the fag end of the podcast. I want you to reminisce key learnings, and any advice that you would want to give employees, people leaders at Muthoot, and maybe even our other CEOs, your peers, on leading through change and building human-centric organizations.
Okay, so I would go back to my initial line, which is my favorite book, which is the Bible. So the Bible says, "Do unto others as you would like others to do unto you." So I feel that one should treat others. If you want respect, you should treat others with respect. I think that's first and foremost. And you need to follow that across the value chain, across the chain of hierarchy. It's not that you are at certain levels so you can boss around. I think that's not par for course anymore. Maybe it used to be 30 years back, but not anymore. That's one. And I would also like to end with an anecdote, if it carries a message. There's this king who wanted to, make his prince as as a crown prince, or make him as a higher apparent. But before that, he wanted to check whether, the prince is ready to take up that uh, mantle. So he sent him to a monk, saying that, I want you to, Holy One, I want you to assess my son and tell me whether he is ready to take up the mantle. So the monk says, you go into the forest, spend a year, and come back and tell me what all you hear. So this prince goes to the forest, stays there for a year, and he comes back to the monk. And he asks, "What did you hear?" So he said, "I heard the light sound of the thunder, the lions roar, the elephants bleat, and all kind of sounds that you hear in a forest." So the monk said, "No, you haven't heard enough. Go back for one more year and spend time and come back and tell me what do you hear." So then he goes and spends one more year and comes back and says that, so he asks, what did he hear? He said, "I heard the, sound of the river flow. I heard the, sound of the gentle breeze, against the grass and against the leaves, and all those kind of subtle sounds." So the monk says, "No, you haven't heard enough. Go back and spend one more year and come back and tell me what all you heard." And so this prince goes and spends one more year, and he comes back and says, then the monk asks, "What did you hear?" So he said, "I heard the sound of the flowers bloom. I heard the sound of the fruits ripen." So then the monk sends the prince to the king and says, "Your son is ready to become the king." So the king asks, "What is the significance?" So the monk says, a great leader is the one who not only listens to the, grievances of the people that they are willing to come and tell, but is a great leader is the one who can listen to the untold grievances. So you can't hear the sound of a flower bloom or the sound of a fruit ripen, but those are the untold grievances of your subjects, which a leader should be able to, be able to listen to. If you are able to listen to that untold grievances of your people, I think you become a great leader, true leader. I think that's the message for anyone who is listening. I think you need to reach to that level where you can be able to not only hear the told grievances, but also the untold grievances of your people.
So, thank you so much. You've been a pleasure to host. Thank you.